I retired, all I knew was defending my end zone.
I didn't know what to do. I always had my guard up.
Ready to tear someone's head off.
Then I stopped settling for safe-ish and got safe with ADT.
With 24/7 monitoring,
What's up, Brian?
I'm more relaxed than ever.
And I don't have my head on the swivel anymore. Oh, a black cat chickadee.
I had a whole defensive scheme to keep it safe-ish.
Woo! And safe-ish wasn't good enough. Oh, hey!
Hey, Bam Bam!
What's going on?
Because now when it comes to protecting my house, I use ADT. Coming through! No, not in my house!
Oh, a cat!
My wife just put me on the same calendar as her dental appointments. Guess which gets more tongue. I'm staring at Lara's laptop screen at 2 in the morning, squinting at what she calls Affection Schedule 2.0 in bright pink Comic Sans font. Tuesday evenings, every other Saturday morning, and, if I'm really lucky, spontaneous moments marked in yellow highlighter like grocery store coupons about to expire. Eli, what are you doing up? Lara's voice cuts through the darkness as she stumbles through our front door, fumbling with keys that sound like wind chimes in a tornado. I close the laptop with a soft click. Just checking my availability, sweetheart. Looks like I'm booked solid through next month. She flicks on the kitchen light, and I get my first good look at her. Hair that was perfectly styled this morning now looks like she's been running her fingers through it for hours. Her lipstick is gone, but there's a faint smudge of something darker on her collar. She's wearing the black dress I bought her for our anniversary last year, the one she claimed was too fancy for work events. Staff meeting ran late, she says, not meeting my eyes. You know how Principal Doyle gets when he's passionate about curriculum changes. Principal Franklin Doyle. 53 years old, silver fox with a god complex and a tendency to stand too close when he talks. I've met him exactly 3 times at school functions, and each time he looked at me like I was something stuck to his shoe. Must have been quite the meeting, I say, watching her kick off her heels. Your earring's missing. Her hand flies to her left ear, fingers searching for the small diamond stud that's been there every day for the past 5 years. Oh, must have fallen out in the car. Right ear's fine, though. She forces a laugh that sounds like breaking glass. You're so observant, honey. That's why I married you. No, you married me because I was safe. Because I was the guy who would never question your late nights or your sudden interest in professional development conferences that happen to fall on weekends when I'm working overtime. I'm going to shower, she announces, already heading toward the stairs. Don't wait up. But I'm already up, aren't I? Have been for weeks now, ever since the schedule appeared and our conversations started feeling like business transactions. Ever since she started coming home smelling like cologne I don't wear and making phone calls in the garage with the door closed. Her phone buzzes on the counter where she left it. The screen lights up with a text from Frank D. Can't stop thinking about tonight. You're incredible. I stare at those words until they burn into my retinas. Frank D. Frank Doyle. Principal Franklin Doyle, who's old enough to be her father and married to a woman who volunteers at the church bake sale every Sunday. The water starts running upstairs. I have maybe 10 minutes before she remembers her phone. I've always been good with my hands. 20 years as an electrical supervisor will teach you to work fast and think faster. Her phone is password protected, but I've watched her unlock it 1,000 times. Her birthday backwards, because Lara's never been creative with security. The messages go back 3 months. 3 months of can't wait to see you, and meeting room B is empty after 4, and photos I wish I could unsee. Photos of my wife in lingerie I've never seen her wear, taken in what looks like a hotel room with burgundy wallpaper and cheap art. My hands are shaking as I scroll through weeks of evidence. Hotel receipts forwarded as photos. Plans for weekend getaways disguised as teacher training seminars, and worst of all, conversations about me. He's so clueless, she wrote 2 weeks ago. I could probably bring you home for dinner, and he'd just ask if you wanted seconds. Frank's response, maybe we should test that theory. I'd love to see where you pretend to be happy. The shower shuts off upstairs. I delete the message notification, place the phone exactly where she left it, and walk to my workshop in the basement. I need to think. I need to plan. And I need to stop being the kind of man who gets scheduled like a root canal. My workshop is the only space in this house that's entirely mine. Pegboard walls lined with tools, a workbench that's seen everything from rewiring outlets to building birdhouses, and a locked filing cabinet where I keep important documents, like our marriage certificate, which suddenly feels like a joke written in legal language. I pull out a yellow legal pad and start writing. Not because I'm planning anything dramatic. I'm not that kind of man. I'm planning something worse. I'm planning to be smart. First, I need proof. Real proof, not just text messages that could be explained away or deleted. I need photos, documentation, evidence that would hold up in divorce court and anywhere else it might matter. Second, I need to understand the scope. Are they planning a future together? Are there other people involved? How long has this been going on? Third, I need to decide what I want. Do I want my marriage back? Do I want revenge? Do I want to disappear and start over somewhere else? The answer comes to me as I'm writing. I want them to understand what it feels like to be scheduled, to be treated like an inconvenience, to have their lives turned upside down by someone they underestimated. I want them to know that affection isn't the only thing that comes with boundaries. Footsteps creak overhead as Lara gets into bed. In a few minutes, she'll realize she left her phone downstairs and come looking for it. She'll find me in my workshop, probably assume I'm working on some weekend project, and never suspect that I've just scheduled the most important project of my life. The revenge of Eli Whitman, electrical supervisor and apparently world-class fool. But not for much longer. Hank's garage smells like motor oil and broken dreams, which makes it the perfect place to plan the destruction of my marriage. Hank Morrison has been my best friend since high school, back when we both thought we'd be rock stars instead of middle-aged men with mortgages and lower back pain. So, let me get this straight, Hank says, wiping his hands on a rag that's seen better decades. Your wife is screwing her boss, and you want to what? Become a private investigator? I want to become informed, I correct him. There's a difference between knowing your wife is cheating and being able to prove it. Hank shakes his head, gray ponytail swaying like a disappointed pendulum. Eli, brother, sometimes ignorance is bliss. Sometimes you just pack a bag and leave a note saying, thanks for the memories. Don't call my lawyer. I'll call yours. And sometimes, I say, pulling out my phone, you document everything and make sure the people who screwed you over face actual consequences. I show him the screenshots I managed to take last night. Hank whistles low, the same sound he makes when he sees the estimate for a transmission rebuild. Principal Doyle, huh? That sanctimonious prick who gave the commencement speech about moral leadership in education? The very same. Well, shit. Hank tosses the rag onto his workbench. What do you need? This is why Hank's been my friend for 23 years. No judgment, no lectures about forgiveness or working things out. Just, what do you need? And the understanding that some bridges are meant to be burned. I need to track her movements without her knowing. I need photos, and I need to understand how deep this goes. You want me to clone her phone? I stare at him. You can do that? Eli, I've been running a garage for 15 years. Half my business comes from repo work and insurance investigations. You think I don't know how to track a cheating spouse? Is it legal? Is adultery? Fair point. 20 minutes later, I'm walking out of Hank's with a small device that looks like a phone charger and a crash course in digital surveillance. The device will copy everything on Lara's phone, texts, calls, photos, location data, and send it to an app on my phone. Just plug it in next to her bed, Hank explained. Tell her you bought her a new charger because you're such a thoughtful husband. She'll never suspect a thing. The irony isn't lost on me. I'm about to become the kind of husband who spies on his wife because I was the kind of husband who never paid attention in the first place. My first stop is the Pines Motel, a rundown establishment on Route 9 that rents rooms by the hour and doesn't ask questions about why married people need privacy from their own homes. The desk clerk is a woman in her 60s with purple hair and the kind of eyes that have seen everything twice. "You looking for a room, honey?" she asks. "Actually, I'm looking for information about my wife." I slide a $50 bill across the counter along with a photo of Lara from our last vacation. Her smile looks genuine in the picture, which makes my chest tight with something between nostalgia and nausea. The woman glances at the photo, then at the money. She's been coming here Tuesdays and Fridays for about 2 months, always with the same man, older, gray hair, drives a black Lexus. What name do they use? Mr. and Mrs. Johnson. Real original, right? She pockets the 50. They always request room 237. She tips housekeeping extra to use the good towels. Even her adultery is organized and considerate. Classic Lara. Anything else you can tell me? She always pays cash. He always looks guilty. And honey? The woman leans forward conspiratorially. Whatever you're planning, make sure it hurts. Women like that give the rest of us a bad name. I drive home with a plan forming in my mind and a sick feeling in my stomach. This is really happening. My marriage is really over, and I'm really about to become the kind of man who destroys people's lives for revenge. But as I pull into my driveway and see Lara's car already there, home early from another staff meeting, no doubt, I realize I already am that kind of man. I just never had a reason to prove it before. "How was your day, sweetheart?" Lara calls from the kitchen as I walk in. "Productive," I say, plugging the device into the outlet next to her side of the bed. "Bought you a new phone charger. The old one was looking pretty worn out." "That's so thoughtful." She appears in the bedroom doorway, still in her work clothes, but with that freshly applied lipstick that means she's going out again soon. "I have to run to Cynthia's tonight. We're planning the spring fundraiser." Cynthia Walsh, her best friend and fellow teacher. Also married, also involved in every school committee that requires evening meetings. I wonder if she knows about Frank, or if she's just providing convenient alibis. "Take your time," I say. "I'll probably work in the shop tonight. Got a project I want to finish." She kisses my cheek, and I smell the faint trace of cologne that isn't mine. You're the best husband a girl could ask for. 2 hours later, my phone buzzes with the first batch of cloned data. Text messages, call logs, photos, and GPS coordinates that tell the story of my wife's double life in excruciating detail. She's not at Cynthia's house. She's at 412 Maple Street, which according to Google Maps is Frank Doyle's home address. His wife is at her sister's house in Boston for the week, according to a text conversation I probably shouldn't be reading but can't stop scrolling through. I grab my camera and my car keys. Time for some field work. Frank Doyle lives in a colonial that screams, "I make good money corrupting young minds. Perfect lawn, perfect shutters, perfect life that's about to become perfectly ruined." Lara's Honda is parked in his driveway like she belongs there, like she lives there, like 20 years of marriage to me was just a warm-up act for the main event. I park across the street behind a panel van and wait. The camera has a telephoto lens, a Christmas gift from Lara 2 years ago when I mentioned wanting to get back into photography. She probably never imagined I'd use it to document her affair, but life is full of surprises. At 9:47 p.m., they appear in the front window. Frank has his arms around her waist, and she's laughing at something he's saying. They look comfortable together. Natural. Like a couple that doesn't need to schedule affection because it flows freely between them. I take 17 photos before they move away from the window. Clear shots of their faces, their body language, the address visible in the frame. Evidence that would convince any jury that my wife is exactly what I always suspected she was. A liar. But I'm not done yet. I'm just getting started. My phone buzzes with another batch of data. Text messages from tonight, sent while she was supposedly at her friend's house planning fundraisers. "Your hands drive me crazy," she wrote to Frank at 9:23. His response, "Wait until you see what else they can do." I close the app and start my car. I've seen enough for one night, and I have work tomorrow. Regular work, the kind that pays bills and doesn't require me to spy on my own wife in parking lots and hotel rooms. But as I drive home, I'm already planning tomorrow's surveillance, and the day after that, and every day until I have enough evidence to destroy both of their lives in the most public, humiliating way possible. They want to treat me like I'm invisible? Fine. Invisible men see everything, and they're about to learn that some things can't be scheduled. Lara's mother has always hated me, which makes her 70th birthday party the perfect venue for my debut as a vengeful husband. Margaret Thornton comes from old New England money, the kind that buys respectability and expects everyone else to be grateful for the privilege of breathing the same air. "Eli, how nice that you could make it," she says, when Lara and I arrive at her Beacon Hill townhouse. The way she says nice makes it sound like a four-letter word. "Wouldn't miss it, Margaret. 70 years of spreading joy and sunshine, that's worth celebrating." Lara squeezes my arm in warning. She knows I'm being sarcastic, but she doesn't know why I'm in such a good mood. She doesn't know about the USB drive in my jacket pocket or the slideshow I uploaded to her mother's smart TV this afternoon while she was at her curriculum meeting with Frank. The house is full of teachers, school board members, and various Thornton family friends who've spent decades looking down their noses at the blue-collar electrician who somehow convinced their precious Lara to marry him. Tonight, they're going to get a real show. "Where's the guest of honor's favorite principal?" I ask Cynthia Walsh, who's hovering near the shrimp cocktail like it might escape. "Frank should be here soon," she says, not meeting my eyes. "He had some administrative things to finish up." Administrative matters. Is this what happens in a hotel room? "I'm sure he'll make quite an entrance," I say. Frank always knows how to make an impression. The living room is set up with Margaret's antique furniture arranged around a massive 75-inch TV that her grandson installed last Christmas. The same TV I've spent the last week figuring out how to access remotely, thanks to some very helpful YouTube tutorials and my background in electrical systems. Frank arrives at 7:30, looking like Central Casting's idea of a distinguished educator. Gray hair perfectly styled, navy blazer with gold buttons, smile that says, "Trust me with your children's futures." He kisses Margaret's cheek and shakes hands with the school superintendent like he's running for office. "Eli," he booms when he sees me, extending his hand like we're old friends. "Good to see you, buddy. How's the electrical business?" "Shocking," I say, shaking his hand and holding it just long enough to make him uncomfortable. "But I've learned that the right connections can really light up a room." He laughs uncertainly and moves away to find Lara, who's been avoiding me all evening. I watch them greet each other with the kind of careful distance that screams, "We're definitely not sleeping together." At 8 o'clock, Margaret calls for attention. "Thank you all for being here to celebrate with me. Before we have cake, I thought we might look at some photos from the past year. Lara put together a lovely slideshow." That's my cue. I pull out my phone and open the app that connects to the TV. The slideshow I prepared is indeed lovely, if your definition of lovely includes high-resolution photos of adultery. "This is so thoughtful," Margaret continues, reaching for the remote. "Let's see what memories Lara has chosen to share." The screen flickers to life, and for a moment, everything is exactly as planned. There's Margaret's birthday party from last year, family vacation photos, holiday gatherings, normal, respectable images that make everyone smile and nod approvingly. Then, the slideshow transitions to my contribution. The first photo shows Lara and Frank in the parking lot behind the school, his hands on her waist, her arms around his neck, kissing like teenagers who just discovered hormones. The timestamp shows it was taken last Tuesday at 4:15 p.m., right after school hours. The room goes dead silent. Oh my God, someone whispers. The second photo is from the Pines Motel. Lara and Frank entering room 237, his hand on her lower back, her head thrown back in laughter. They look happy. They look like people in love. Margaret drops her wine glass. The sound of crystal shattering on hardwood floors is the only noise in the room. What is this? She demands, staring at the screen in horror. The third photo answers her question. It's Frank and Lara in his office, taken through the window from the parking lot. She's sitting on his desk, her legs wrapped around his waist, his mouth on her neck. The nameplate on the desk clearly reads, Franklin Doyle, Principal. Turn it off! Lara shrieks, lunging for the remote, but I'm already standing, blocking her path with a smile that feels like broken glass. But we haven't gotten to the best part yet, I say loudly enough for everyone to hear. The next slide shows the hotel receipts. Did you know the Pines Motel gives bulk discounts for frequent customers? Frank has gone completely white. This is some kind of mistake. The only mistake, I announced to the room, was thinking I was too stupid to notice. But don't worry, Frank. I'm sure the school board will be very understanding about their principal's hands-on approach to staff development. The fourth photo fills the screen. Frank and Lara in his car, parked behind the town library, her head in his lap in a position that requires no explanation. Margaret starts crying. Not elegant tears, but huge, gasping sobs that shake her entire body. How could you do this to us? To your family? To her husband, adds Aunt Patricia, Margaret's sister, who's always been the family truth-teller. Lara is frantically pressing buttons on the remote, but the slideshow continues. Photo after photo of her affair, documented in excruciating detail across 3 months of investigation. Hotel rooms, restaurant parking lots, Frank's house, even a shot of them kissing in the school hallway after hours. Eli, please, Lara begs, tears streaming down her face. Please stop this. Stop what? I ask innocently. I thought everyone would want to see how happy you've been lately, how fulfilled, how thoroughly satisfied with your new extracurricular activities. Frank tries to leave, but Superintendent Wallace blocks his path. I think you need to stay right where you are, Frank. We're going to have a very long conversation on Monday morning. This is private business, Frank protests. What happens between consenting adults? What happens between a principal and his subordinate is school district business. Wallace cuts him off. What happens in school buildings during school hours is definitely my business. And what happens to destroy the reputation of our entire district is absolutely my business. The slideshow finally ends, but the damage is complete. 37 people have seen undeniable evidence of the affair. 37 people who represent the entire social and professional network that Lara and Frank depend on for their careers, their reputations, their sense of self-worth. I walk to the center of the room and raise my wine glass. A toast, I announce, to scheduled affection and unscheduled consequences, to marriage vows and professional ethics, and to the beautiful lesson that some people learn too late: actions have consequences. I drain the glass and set it on Margaret's antique coffee table. Then I walk to Lara, who's collapsed into a chair, sobbing uncontrollably. Your phones, I say quietly, pulling both devices from my jacket pocket, her regular phone and the burner phone she thought I didn't know about. You can keep the calendar. I'm erasing myself from your schedule. I drop them in her lap and head for the door. Where are you going? She calls after me. Somewhere I don't need an appointment, I say without turning around. Somewhere affection isn't rationed like wartime sugar. As I reach the front door, I hear Frank trying to explain himself to a room full of people who no longer respect him. I hear Margaret demanding to know how long this has been going on. I hear Cynthia making excuses and Superintendent Wallace making threats. But mostly, I hear the sound of 2 lives imploding in real time. And it's the most beautiful music I've ever heard. The cool October air hits my face as I step outside, and for the first time in months, I feel like I can breathe. My marriage is over. My wife's career is probably finished. Her lover's reputation is destroyed, but I'm free. And freedom, I'm learning, doesn't need to be scheduled. The Rusty Anchor serves the kind of whiskey that burns away bad memories, and the kind of crowd that doesn't ask questions about why a man might be drinking alone on a Tuesday night. I've been coming here for 3 days straight, ever since Margaret's birthday party became the most talked-about social event in our small town's recent history. "Another?" asks Betty, the bartender who's been pouring drinks here since the Carter administration. "Why not?" I slide my glass across the scarred wooden bar. "I'm celebrating." Celebrating what? My wife's career ending, my marriage imploding, the complete destruction of everything I thought I wanted. I raise the fresh glass in a mock toast. Here's to new beginnings. Betty's seen enough broken men to know when to listen and when to mind her own business. Tonight, she chooses listening. "You want to talk about it?" My wife was screwing her boss. I found out. I made sure everyone else found out too. Now they're both unemployed and I'm homeless. "Where are you staying?" "Hank's couch. It's surprisingly comfortable for a piece of furniture that's older than my marriage." The door opens, bringing a gust of cold air and Cynthia Walsh. She spots me immediately and marches over like a woman with a purpose and a grudge. "You bastard!" she hisses, sliding onto the stool next to me. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Enlightened a room full of people about the true character of their beloved principal and his favorite teacher? You've destroyed 2 good people over a mistake. A mistake? I turn to face her fully. "Cynthia, they slept together in his office. During school hours. While married to other people? That's not a mistake. That's a lifestyle choice." Her face flushes red. "Lara loves you. She made one error in judgment. For 3 months, in hotel rooms, with detailed planning and careful scheduling. That's not an error in judgment. That's a second relationship." Betty refills my glass without being asked. She's clearly enjoying the show. "Frank's wife left him," Cynthia continues. "Took the kids to her mother's house. Won't even let him explain. Good for her. She married a man who promised to forsake all others. And Lara. God, Eli, Lara's a mess. She's been calling you for 3 days. Why won't you answer?" I pull out my phone and show her the call log. 47 missed calls from Lara since Sunday night. "Because I don't take unscheduled calls anymore. She'll have to make an appointment." This isn't funny. You're right. It's hilarious. Cynthia orders a wine that costs more than my lunch and tries a different approach. "What do you want? Money? An apology? What will it take for you to stop this?" "Stop what?" "I haven't done anything since Sunday. The photos speak for themselves." "You sent them to the school board, and the superintendent, and the local newspaper." "Actually, I didn't send them to the newspaper. Someone else must have done that." I smile at her over my whiskey. Though I did leave a USB drive in Gladys Morrison's mailbox. She volunteers at the church and knows everyone in town. I figured she'd know what to do with it. "You're destroying people's lives." "No, Cynthia. I'm revealing the lives they chose to live in secret. There's a difference." She takes a large gulp of wine and tries once more. "Lara needs you. She's talking about hurting herself." The whiskey turns to acid in my stomach. "What do you mean?" "She's not eating, not sleeping. She sits in her apartment. Yes, she had to get an apartment because her mother won't speak to her. And she just stares at her phone, waiting for you to call." Her choice. Is it? Or is this some elaborate punishment because your feelings got hurt? I set down my glass hard enough to make Betty look over. My feelings didn't get hurt. My entire understanding of reality got destroyed. "So you destroyed hers back." "Fair's fair." She finishes her wine and stands up. "You used to be a good man, Eli." "I used to be a stupid man. There's a difference." After she leaves, Betty refills my glass again. "That woman's got some nerve." She's been covering for them, providing alibis, taking phone calls, probably helping them plan their little rendezvous. Now she's trying to make me feel guilty for exposing what they did. You feel guilty? I consider the question while staring at my reflection in the mirror behind the bar. The man looking back at me has lost 15 pounds in the last week, has bags under his eyes, and needs a haircut. But he also looks more alive than he has in years. No, I say finally. I feel free. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. This is Frank. We need to talk. I show it to Betty, who whistles low. Balls on that one? I type back, no, we don't. His response comes immediately. I can make this worth your while. How? Meet me at the school parking lot. 10 p.m., come alone. I check my watch. It's 9:30. You're not seriously thinking about going, Betty says. Why not? I'm curious what he thinks he can offer me. Besides a beating? Frank Doyle couldn't beat a rug. He's a bureaucrat who's used to solving problems with meetings and strongly worded memos. This is probably the first real conflict he's faced in 20 years. I finish my drink and leave money on the bar. If I'm not back in an hour, call Hank. He'll know what to do. The school parking lot is empty except for Frank's black Lexus, parked under a street light, like he's trying to make this as dramatic as possible. He's leaning against the hood, still wearing his principal costume but looking like a man who's aged 10 years in 3 days. Eli, he says as I approach. Thanks for coming. This better be good, Frank. I've got a bottle of whiskey waiting for me. I want to make you a deal. I'm listening. He reaches into his jacket and pulls out an envelope. $50,000. Cash. All I need is for you to sign a statement saying the photos were doctored, that you made the whole thing up because you were angry about the divorce. I take the envelope and flip through the bills. It's real money, more than I make in a year. Where'd you get 50 grand in cash? I've been saving for retirement. And you're willing to give it all up to save your reputation? To save Lara's reputation. She doesn't deserve this. I look at him for a long moment, this man who destroyed my marriage and is now trying to buy his way out of the consequences. You really think I'm the kind of person who can be bought? Everyone has a price. You're right. I hand him back the envelope. But mine's higher than 50,000. How much? There isn't enough money in the world, Frank. You slept with my wife. In your office, in hotel rooms, probably in my house when I was working late. You scheduled her like a business meeting and treated me like I was too stupid to notice. It wasn't supposed to happen. We tried to fight it. Bullshit. You planned it. You pursued it. You enjoyed it. And you would have kept doing it until one of you got bored or found someone else. He straightens up, and for a moment I see a flash of the arrogance that probably attracted Lara in the first place. What do you want then? To destroy us completely? I want you to understand what it feels like to have your life turned upside down by someone you trusted. I want you to know what it's like to be humiliated in front of everyone you respect. I want you to learn that actions have consequences. And Lara? What about her? What about her? She loves you. This thing with me, it was just physical. You're her husband. I laugh, and it sounds like breaking glass. Frank, if she loved me, she wouldn't have needed to schedule time for affection. If she loved me, she wouldn't have been comparing my performance to yours in text messages. If she loved me, she would have asked for a divorce instead of making me feel like I was going crazy. So this is it. You're going to destroy both our careers, our families, our lives, because your ego got bruised? My ego? I step closer to him, close enough to smell the desperation coming off him like cologne. Frank, this isn't about my ego. This is about consequences. You're 53 years old. You're supposed to be a leader, a role model, someone parents trust with their children. Instead, you're a middle-aged cliché who abuses his position to seduce married women. I never abused my position. You're her boss, Frank. She works for you. Every time you had an inappropriate relationship with her, you committed a crime. Every time you used school property for your affair, you were stealing from the taxpayers. Every time you lied to your wife, you were committing fraud. That's exactly how it works. And now everyone knows it. I turn to walk away, but his voice stops me. This isn't over, Eli. I look back at him, standing alone under the streetlight with his envelope full of money and his ruined life. Yes, Frank, it is. As I drive back to Hank's house, I realize something has changed in me tonight. I'm not the same man who discovered those text messages a week ago. I'm not even the same man who walked into Margaret's birthday party. I'm someone new, someone harder, someone who understands that sometimes the only way to get justice is to take it yourself. And I'm not done taking it yet. The school board meeting is held in the basement of the town hall, in a room that smells like industrial carpet and broken dreams. I arrive early and take a seat in the back row, wearing my best suit and the kind of smile that makes people nervous. The room fills up quickly. Parents, teachers, school administrators, and what looks like half the town's population. Word has spread about Principal Doyle's administrative leave and Mrs. Whitman's resignation for personal reasons. Everyone wants to see the official response to what's being called the biggest scandal in the district's history. Lara walks in 5 minutes before the meeting starts, flanked by Cynthia and a man I don't recognize in an expensive suit. Her lawyer, probably. She's lost weight, and her hair is pulled back in a severe bun that makes her look older than her 32 years. When she sees me, her face goes white. Frank enters through a side door with his own legal representation. He's traded his principal uniform for a charcoal gray suit that probably cost more than my truck. He doesn't look at me, doesn't look at Lara, just stares straight ahead like he's facing a firing squad. School Board President Janet Morrison calls the meeting to order. We're here tonight to address recent allegations concerning the conduct of district employees. Due to the serious nature of these allegations, we'll be conducting this meeting according to formal procedures. She reads from a prepared statement about professional conduct, moral turpitude, and the district's commitment to maintaining the highest ethical standards. Legal language that translates to, "We're going to fire both of them, but we have to make it look official." Mr. Doyle, she continues, you're accused of engaging in an inappropriate relationship with a subordinate employee, misusing district property for personal purposes, and conduct unbecoming of an educational administrator. How do you respond? Frank's lawyer stands up. My client denies any wrongdoing and maintains that any personal relationships he may have had were conducted entirely outside of work hours and off-school property. We have photographic evidence to the contrary, Board Member Williams responds, holding up a folder thick with my surveillance photos, including images of intimate contact in the principal's office, in the school parking lot, and in district vehicles. The room erupts in murmurs. Parents turn to each other with shocked expressions. Teachers whisper behind their hands. This is better than cable television. Mrs. Whitman, President Morrison continues, you're accused of engaging in an inappropriate relationship with your supervisor, violating the district's ethics policy, and conduct unbecoming of an educational professional. How do you respond? Lara's lawyer stands, but she puts a hand on his arm and rises herself. I'd like to address the board directly. Lara, don't, her lawyer warns, but she's already walking to the podium. She looks out at the crowd, her eyes finding mine in the back row. I want to start by apologizing to everyone in this room, to the parents who trusted me with their children, to my colleagues who considered me a friend, to the students who looked up to me as a role model. Her voice is steady, but I can see her hands shaking as she grips the podium. I made a terrible mistake. I allowed my personal feelings to override my professional judgment and my moral obligations. I betrayed my marriage vows, my professional ethics, and the trust that this community placed in me. Someone in the crowd calls out, What about your husband? Lara's composure cracks slightly. I betrayed my husband most of all. Eli Whitman is a good man who deserved better than what I gave him. He deserved honesty, loyalty, and respect. Instead, I gave him lies, betrayal, and humiliation. She turns to look at me directly. Eli, if you're listening, I want you to know that I'm sorry. Not sorry I got caught, but sorry for what I did. Sorry for the pain I caused you. Sorry for throwing away 20 years of marriage for something that was never worth it. The room is dead silent. Even the board members are staring at her with something that might be sympathy. I'm resigning from my position effective immediately, she continues. I'm not asking for forgiveness because I don't deserve it. I'm not asking for understanding because there's no excuse for what I did. I'm just asking for the chance to try to rebuild some small part of the life I destroyed. She walks back to her seat, and for a moment I almost feel sorry for her. Almost. Then Frank's lawyer stands up and ruins the moment completely. My client would like to make a statement as well, he announces. Frank approaches the podium with the kind of swagger that suggests he thinks he can talk his way out of this. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, parents and community members, I want to address these allegations directly. He pauses for dramatic effect, like he's delivering a commencement address. I am the victim of a vindictive campaign by a jealous husband who couldn't accept that his marriage was failing. The so-called evidence against me has been taken out of context, manipulated, and presented in the worst possible light by a man seeking revenge. The room starts buzzing with angry voices. Frank raises his hand for silence. Mrs. Whitman and I developed a close professional relationship that may have appeared inappropriate to outside observers. But any suggestion that we did anything inappropriate on school grounds or during school hours is categorically false. I stand up. That's interesting, Frank, because I have 17 photos that say otherwise. President Morrison bangs her gavel. Mr. Whitman, please sit down. You'll have a chance to speak during the public comment period. Actually, I say, pulling out my phone, I think everyone should see this right now. I hold up the phone, showing a video I took through Frank's office window last Thursday afternoon. The image quality isn't perfect, but it's clear enough to show Frank and Lara in a position that definitely violates district policy. The room explodes. Parents are shouting, board members are arguing, and Frank's lawyer is demanding that I be removed from the building. Mr. Whitman, President Morrison calls over the chaos, turn off that device immediately. Why? Frank just told everyone he never had any inappropriate relationships on school grounds. I'm simply providing evidence to the contrary. Frank's face has gone from confident to panicked. That video is illegal. He was trespassing on school grounds. Actually, I say, still holding up the phone, I was standing in the public parking lot. Your office window faces the street, Frank. Anyone could have seen what you were doing. I just happened to be the one with a camera. The video shows Frank lifting Lara onto his desk, her legs wrapping around his waist, his hands fumbling with her blouse. It shows them kissing passionately while student artwork hangs on the walls around them. The video shows them sleeping with each other in a room designed for the education and development of children. Board member Williams stands up. I've seen enough. Mr. Doyle, you're terminated immediately for cause. Security will escort you from the building. You can't do this, Frank protests. I have tenure. I have rights. You had responsibilities, Williams shoots back. You violated every one of them. 2 security guards appear at Frank's side. As they escort him toward the exit, he stops next to my row. This isn't over, he says quietly. Yes, I reply. It is. After Frank is removed, the board takes a formal vote to accept Lara's resignation and to refer the matter to the State Education Department for potential criminal charges. The meeting adjourns and the crowd begins to file out, everyone talking at once about what they've just witnessed. Lara approaches me as I'm putting on my jacket. Can we talk? She asks. I don't think that's a good idea. Please, 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I follow her outside to the parking lot. The October air is cold and she wraps her arms around herself for warmth. "I meant what I said in there," she begins. "I'm sorry." "I know. Do you think, is there any chance we could try to work this out? Go to counseling, maybe start over?" I look at her, really look at her, for the first time since this whole thing started. She's still beautiful, still the woman I fell in love with 20 years ago. But she's the same woman who scheduled our intimate encounters as a duty and slept with her boss while I worked overtime to pay for her mother's birthday present. "No," I say finally. "There's no going back from this. Because of what I did, or because of what you did?" "What do you mean?" "You didn't just expose our affair, Eli. You destroyed us. Publicly, professionally, personally. You made sure that everyone we know, everyone we work with, everyone in this town knows exactly what we did and how we did it." "You're right. That's not the man I married. The Eli I married would have confronted me privately, demanded the truth, maybe asked me to choose between you and Frank. He wouldn't have planned an elaborate revenge campaign designed to humiliate us in front of the entire community. The Eli you married was a fool who trusted his wife and believed in his marriage. That man is gone. And who are you now?" I consider the question as I look up at the stars barely visible through the light pollution. I'm someone who understands that actions have consequences. I'm someone who knows that some things can't be forgiven or forgotten. I'm someone who refuses to be taken for granted ever again. I never took you for granted. You scheduled this for me, Lara, like a dentist appointment. While you were having passionate, spontaneous affairs with another man. If that's not taking someone for granted, I don't know what is. She starts crying, and part of me wants to comfort her. 20 years of marriage doesn't disappear overnight, even when it ends in betrayal and public humiliation. But a bigger part of me remembers the text messages, the hotel receipts, the photos of her laughing in Frank's arms, while I sat at home wondering why my wife didn't want to touch me anymore. "I'll have my lawyer contact yours about the divorce," I say, walking toward my truck. "Eli, wait." I turn back. "What happens now?" "Now you figure out how to live with the consequences of your choices, just like I'm learning to live with mine." "And us? What happens to us?" "There is no us anymore, Lara. There's you, there's me, and there's 20 years of history that ended the night you decided Frank Doyle was worth more than our marriage." I drive home to Hank's house, where I'll sleep on his couch for another night and wake up tomorrow to start building whatever comes next. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I know it won't include scheduled affection or wondering if my wife loves me enough to be faithful. For the first time in months, that feels like enough.